do want to quickly touch on obviously the reports that have been out there this week, and you tweet yourself, right? Everyone talking
Mhm.
about the CM Punk situation. Um, as someone who is still a talent, a peer of his as well, talk me through how kind of difficult it is to navigate that situation and how ultimately you came to that decision. Because I know how important your father was to you, and obviously that tweet shed a bit of light on that itself.
Yeah, it's really, I'm just a part of a disciplinary committee, and we had to take the action that we had to take, right? And so, but yeah, it was the the whole thing was hard, and I really like Punk, and I have a lot of respect for Punk, and he's been an important part of AEW. I just wish him the best, going forward. I hope he does a great job there, and I hope he has a lot of fun. And other past that, I don't really want to say a
No, I
lot.
can imagine. Oh,
So, like, I'm new to this, like, nobody wants to be a part of a disciplinary committee, right? Like, that's
no
not
one
like
dreams of it.
nobody. Yeah. Nobody. My wife and I joked about, like, oh, you could turn it into a gimmick, right? Where, like, you're
Yeah.
backstage handing out fines or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And but the reality is, like, I was kind of honored when they asked me to be a part of it. It's not something I get paid for. I'm not like a I'm just like the other wrestlers in the sense of I don't have a contract outside of being a wrestler contract, right? I'm just one of the wrestlers. But I was honored to take on more when they asked me to take on more roles backstage. I mean, that always makes you feel good about, like, okay, they trust me in these positions, and that sort of thing. And that's honestly, with this being kind of my last full-time year as a wrestler, that's something that I'm kind of looking at going forward, as far as, like, okay, what other things could I do besides being in the ring that could help AEW? So yeah, so it's you know uh it's been good. It's been interesting. There's some things where, sometimes, all the other people on the committee are people who are like they have college degrees, they're lawyers, they're these people, and I'm like, I don't have any education. So I just, like, I've been play fighting in my spandex for 24 years now. So that's been my education. So
No better degree than that. No better degree.
yeah.
I mean, but still, I guess like just from the outside looking in, a lot of people looked at that as like a turbulent time for AEW, but it really seems like, and again, I'm looking at the outside looking in, but it really seems like everyone's on the sort of same page, singing from the same hymn sheet right now. Is that a fair assessment? Would you say that the waters have calmed?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think so. It's impossible to say when you're in a moment. You'll look back on something and say, like, okay, this was this and this was that. And when you're looking back on something, you have a much better view of what was what when you're in the present of something. And this is every time I've ever been a part of a wrestling company. Ring of Honor, WWE, AEW now, you can really only see peaks and valleys, like,
Right.
later, right? It's like, oh, for Ring of Honor, we were at our peak here, or like this, that sort of thing. And so that's um, but you're always just trying to improve and trying to do better and that sort of thing. One of the things that I think that's happening with AEW is something similar that happens with a lot of organizations when they start growing, right? You start at a certain size, and then you start growing, and then the things that worked for you when you were small don't work for you as you get bigger, right? And then you have to adjust. Starbucks started with, like, very few stores, and then all of a sudden, I forget what year it was. It was like sometime in the 2000s, they started adding, like, it was like a new store every 4 hours, right? They added like 2,500 stores in a year. And by 2008, in the financial crisis, they'd realized that they had added all these stores, but they didn't have the infrastructure to manage all these stores. So then they had to cut back, and then they reorganized, and then it became better. So that's kind of the idea when I'm looking at AEW right now, like there's been so much growth in 4 years. Like look at Wembley last year, like what an incredible achievement. And then it's like AEW, and I'm really seeing it on the back side of the company, the part of the company that people don't see right now. It's like it's really changing in a way that, like, okay, to become the business that we're becoming or already are, there needed to be these changes, and they're starting those changes. And I think that's really awesome, and it's awesome to see. And I'm excited to see AEW grow.